Hey friends, grab your paints and brushes because today we're practicing our watercolor skills with this cute forest and mushrooms theme. Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. What's up? Welcome back. My name is Shayda and today we are painting mushrooms in watercolor. So I'll be working in my little Strathmore watercolor sketchbook. I really like the size of this sketchbook. It's just small and it's great for little paintings like the one we're doing today. I've linked it in the video description. And then I'll probably do most everything with this number 3 pointed round brush. It's sort of my go-to. And then for paints, I am using my Muño 48 pan watercolor set, you know the one, and I have 2 glasses of clean water and some paper towel for blotting my brush. And this month, you've got a chance to win a set of these paints. We're giving away a 12-pan Muño set. That's a smaller version of the one you see me using here. To enter, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, turn on your notifications, and comment below with your request for another watercolor tutorial. What do you want to see in the future? No need to specify done or giveaway entry. All contest details are listed in the video description. Since the mushrooms are all sort of these subtle shades of brown and beige, I want to start today by talking about mixing, and I'm using a clean wet brush to scrub at the cake of paint, and I'm starting with white. I bring the white pigment over to the palette, and then I'm doing the same thing with my brown, and I'm just bringing a little hint of brown and mixing it in to give me this creamy color. I'm also mixing up a French gray, so scrubbing the pan of paint with my wet brush, bringing the gray paint onto the palette, mixing in a little water, and then from there I can mix in any other colors. I'm mixing a little brown. Here you can see me really scrubbing that cake of paint with my wet brush. I pick up the pigment and I bring it over to the palette. Okay, you get it. I've also mixed up a couple browns. One is brown and white mixed, the other is brown and purple. I like the way the purple darkens the brown, and so I've just got an array of sort of browns and beiges and almost blacks, and from there I'm good to start my painting. The first mushroom, I actually want to draw it just so we can do it together and kind of get the shape right. I begin with the stem, then I drew an oval around that stem, and then you put the little cap on top. I'm just going to get rid of some of my pencil lines because once you paint over it, you will not be able to erase. Then we're going to grab that really light beigey, creamy color, and I'm just going to paint in the stem. So draw a stem, it could be any shape. You know, mushrooms are weird. And add the white or beige paint. And then at the very bottom, we're gonna take that black brown and we're just going to add a little bit. And because the beige is still wet, you get this wonderful wet into wet where the 2 colors blend. And I've also taken a bit of light brown and I'm adding a little on the sides, and that just gives a more 3-dimensional look to the stem. I'm grabbing that kind of medium beigey color and I am going to color or paint in the top of the mushroom, so I guess the mushroom cap, and just kind of filling in. And then while it's still wet, I'm grabbing the really dark purpley brown, and we're going to get another beautiful wet into wet effect. So painting with watercolors while they are wet on the page is a great way to get an organic and beautifully natural blend of pigments. And that's wonderful when you're painting things from nature like mushrooms or flowers. So you can see the way the brown really bleeds into that beige, and then I'm adding darker brown. I left a bit of negative space there for spots. And then I'm using my beigey color to simply add some gills, I guess, underneath the mushroom cap. And I'm mixing a light gray with the creamy beige color. And the 2 of them kind of blend together. I leave a little bit of negative space there, and it just hints at the idea of gills. We can add more detail later. You can continue shading while the mushroom is wet using a little bit of light brown or browny gray, and it'll just bleed out really nicely and you'll get a very natural looking shading. For our next mushroom, I'm not going to draw it first. I just want to paint and let the form kind of take shape on the page, but do whatever is comfortable for you. I am starting with 3 stems, just these weird lines of beige paint, and then I'm going to take that same light color and do a little circle or oval at the top of each stem. So they can all be a little different. They're kind of in a cluster, which I think looks cute, and just don't overthink this. Any shape will do. And then same idea, we're grabbing from a color on the palette that's just slightly darker, whether it's a gray or a brown, and we're adding a little bit of that darker gray to the stem to give the look of shading and to give it a more 3-dimensional appearance. I'm also adding a bit of dark brown at the bottom of each mushroom, sort of where they would have been plucked from the dirt. And then I have added just a hint of shading on the top, on the button part. So I just keep kind of going back, adding a little more paint until I get the look that I like. And working with wet into wet is a great way to get that really natural, soft shadow. Okay, moving on, let's do another one. This one's very similar. I'm using the same colors of paint, same sort of ideas, and I just switch up the shape a little bit every time. So for this one, you can see I'm starting with quite a long, wide stem, but same idea. I'm using the creamy beige. I'm adding that black brown to the bottom while it's still wet. This one I might even get a little bit of a root look going by simply using the tip of my brush to pull the paint out in little strands. And because both colors or both pigments are wet, we get a beautiful blend. Then I use that lighter gray beige to give me just that little bit of shading on the sides of the stem and the top where it's going to meet the cap, and that really helps with the 3-dimensional appearance of the mushroom. Keep those shadows weird and random. And then we're going to grab that beigey, creamy color again, and we're just going to work out the shape of the mushroom top or the cap. It could be any size, could be any shape. You could make it really long and tall or short and wide, doesn't matter. Just work it out, and when you're happy with it, kind of leave it alone, and then grab your darker color and just add that bit of shading. And the shading could go on both sides or just one side. Try to keep it a little random and weird so that the mushroom doesn't look too smooth. That would be my one tip. Well, you won't be surprised to know that my next mushroom follows the same formula. Just work out a weird little shape for the stem, whether it's short or long, fat or skinny. Then add that little bit of darker gray or brown to give it the shading. I'm usually adding a little bit at the bottom, the top, and on the sides. Then we're working out the top of the mushroom, and again, I'm using that beigey creamy color. This one is going to be very short with a really long sort of flat mushroom cap, so totally different shape than I've done so far. And that's kind of the fun of painting all these mushrooms, is you can just play with different forms and sizes, look at pictures on Google Photos and get some ideas, some inspiration. I'm going to leave that one alone for now. Actually, all of these are just sort of the first layer, and then we'll come back and add more detail. And for my last mushroom, I am painting a mushroom cap first. I started with a circle, then it's almost like I'm trying to paint a sun hat. It's got the little rounded part in the middle with this big brim around it, just a random shape, and then from there I'll paint the stem, and it's going to be quite thin and curving. So at this point, I've got a whole bunch of different mushrooms here. The first layer of paint has been completed, and now we need to do a little bit of wet on dry. So adding more detail now that everything has dried. And the first step here is that I want to mix up a really dark red. I'm mixing red with burgundy, and then you'll also see me mix in a little purple so that I get this very rich, dark red-ish burgundy color. So we've got that mixed up, but I'm not going to start with that. This is what the mushrooms look like, and now using basically the same colors that I've been using all along, I am going to start adding detail. So for this one, I'm using a dark gray to add some more detail to those gills underneath the mushroom cap. I'm doing these long rounded lines or brush strokes, and they're really helping to give the look of gills. I'm also going to add a little bit of darker brown to that mushroom cap. It just looks a little flat, so I want to make the color a little richer, a little darker, and you can see my brush strokes are pretty random. I want it to look very perfectly imperfect. I don't want anything to look smooth or flat, so have the kind of bravery to just put some weird brush strokes on these mushrooms, and that will indicate the shading and the color, and it'll look really organic. You can add a bit more detail to these little button mushrooms by simply adding some dark gray on the stems and then maybe a little bit on the sides of the caps. Then for the next one, we're gonna have a bit of fun. We're gonna pick up that really rich red, come back over here, and we're going to start coloring in, painting in the cap. And what you see me doing here is using the tip of my pointed round brush to kind of get the outline and the shape, and then also to outline some little spots on the mushroom cap. Then where I need to, I add a little more pressure to that brush, and I use the belly of the brush to kind of fill in the larger areas of red. I grab a little more paint, a little more pigment when I need to, and I just keep working this red area. I'm going slowly and carefully and leaving lots of little white spots. That's just going to be such a nice decorative element, and it's kind of like your quintessential Mario mushroom. To complete this little guy, we're going to grab a bit of medium brown on the very tip of that pointed round brush, and again, we're just doing these little lines that sort of flow out towards the mushroom cap, and they indicate the gills underneath. So just make it messy. It can blend a little with the red, that's fine. Adding a little more shading to the stem if you like. Just keep it weird, keep it random. And then I'm coming in with just a little bit of reddish brown on the tip of that pointed brush and kind of filling in the backside of the mushroom cap and adding a little more detail to the gills. Okay, let's grab some medium brown, and we are going to again do these gills. Even though every mushroom is a little different, a lot of them follow a similar shape or formula, so you kind of get used to doing these lines for gills and doing the big weird shape of the mushroom cap. So it's fun. It all sort of flows and you'll get the hang of it. These are so fun and simple to paint. Just like flowers, they don't need to look a certain way, so it's totally up to you as the artist. Have fun with the shading, have fun with the weird forms of the mushrooms, and just experiment. For this one, I thought it might be kind of cool to do some really light lines on the stem. I don't know, I just wanted to try it, and then I kind of softened them with a wet, damp brush so they weren't too harsh. And then you just see me adding more and more shading to the top portion of the mushroom so that it doesn't look smooth. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little dark brown just on the tip of my brush, and we are going to complete this last mushroom. Remember, I said it kind of looks like a sun hat, the top, so we're doing all these lines fanning out in a circle, and then we're going to also add that medium or dark brown to the stem, especially where the stem meets the mushroom cap. You want to put some shading there so that it gives that three-dimensional look. I also put just a few little lines right on the edge of the cap for texture, and that's pretty much it. From there, as things dry, you can add more shading wherever you think you might need a little bit. A few lines or a bit of a dark brown or gray can go a long way in adding detail and completing your piece. So that is mine pretty much all done. I like the way these mushrooms look. They're all a little different. They're all a little weird. And now I think I just want to add some more like foresty elements to this piece, just because it is a little pretty sketchbook piece and I want it to look nice in my booklet. So I decided to add a mossy green fern, and that's what you see me doing here. Okay, that's about it. My mushroom and forest inspired sketchbook piece is all done. I had so much fun painting this in watercolor, and definitely get your requests in, because I believe this was a viewer request and it's a great idea for a watercolor project, painting those weird mushrooms. Thanks for watching, and thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring our video today. If you have a hobby or passion that you want to make into a career, a website can help you do that. And Squarespace makes it super simple. They have all these wonderful professionally designed templates that you can browse through and choose one. That's the fun step. And then from there, all you have to do is personalize that template, change the fonts and colors if you want, and input your own photos. If you're an artist, a gallery is definitely something you'll need, and Squarespace makes that easy as well. They have automatic image resizing, easy upload, and you'll also find it easy to set up your own online shop, process payments with ease, and access their 24/7 email support whenever you might need it. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Shayda Campbell to save 10% off of purchase of a website or domain.